Most business owners think they need a huge audience online just to make money from content. But what if I told you that the biggest creators on YouTube would actually argue the complete opposite? Because right now we are seeing guys like Iman Ghazi, Jordan Welsh, and Alex Eubank ditching their channels with millions of subscribers just to post content that less people want to watch. Yet the thing is, they're still making millions of dollars from them. And I've helped my clients book dozens of calls from content, whether that's short form videos or long form videos. And if there's one thing I learned, it's that not all views equal money. However, I've also found there is a balance between getting views and getting calls on the calendar, because if you're posting videos and nobody's even watching them, then how are you supposed to get calls on the calendar in the first place? Now, I know that sounds complicated, but that's why in this video, I'm going to show you the process that we use to help clients book calls from YouTube. Now, before we can even book calls from the platform, the first thing we need to do is find the right video ideas, because without this step, the rest of them won't even matter. See, when we post the wrong type of videos, we attract the wrong audience. If we post stuff that's too entertaining, we'll attract viewers who will never buy from us. And if we post videos that no one wants to watch, then we're never going to have anyone to sell to. And I know that makes it sound super complicated to find the right video ideas, but here's how we go about it. So essentially, the first thing we do is break our core service into 3 main buckets. So whether that's like cold email, whether that's something like YouTube content, you're going to have a couple buckets depending on the service. So for like cold email, it's going to be like deliverability. It's going to be email copy, which is just like the actual emails you're writing. It's going to be the follow-ups, and that could be broken down into like follow-up sequences, follow-up strategies, which we'll get to in a sec. But then you're going to have like stuff like list building, where you're actually finding leads and like building out full lists of them. And then you have something like YouTube content, which is going to be like packaging, which is going to be titles. It's going to be your thumbnails. You're going to have script writing, where you're actually writing the scripts. And then you're going to have the actual editing and the ideation, which is basically the strategy. But we can break almost any niche into 3, 4, maybe even 5 different buckets. This way we can find out their micro buckets to actually make content ideas around. So when it comes to these micro buckets, all that's going to be is going to be the actual concepts or ideas that you can make actual videos on. So to give you some examples in the packaging, it'd be like how to make titles that get clicks better than 99% of your competition. That's just off the top of my head. You know, how to make thumbnails that stand out, or how to create packaging that convinces people to buy. Script writing, it'd be like how to write killer YouTube scripts to like maximize retention. It'd be how to write scripts that actually convert into clients. And then, I don't know, a third one off the top of my head. As for editing, it could be, you know, how to edit a killer YouTube intro to blow up your channel, something like that. But essentially, you get to see what I'm doing is I'm going down these buckets and then just taking them a layer deeper by going down one specific thing. So like, you know, editing the intro of a video, scripting a YouTube video that actually leads to book calls. And you can see how they kind of have their own like unique point around them. Now, the thing is, most people think they could just take those buckets and those micro buckets, make a video about it, and then just post it online. But you have to remember that those are just like the concepts and ideas. And it's not something that you should just go ahead and whip up and make, because now we actually need to play the YouTube game and kind of favor into the algorithm as much as we can. And this all starts with our title and thumbnail, which, like I mentioned, is called the packaging. And it's where most people completely lose the people who are going to buy from them, because they either make them so vague that the people they want to reach scroll right by them, or they go full clickbait and pretty much just attract people who will never actually buy. Now, the approach we use to kind of lay in that middle ground is going to be something called the outlier theory. So we take those core services and the buckets and the micro buckets, and essentially what we apply is called the outlier theory. Now, I'm not the one who coined this, but essentially the outlier theory is taking the outlier in a group of data points. All that means is that you're taking something, if something's performing at, you know, in this case, it's 40, 40, 40, and then there's an outlier that's at 100. In this case, that's actually a good thing, because when a video is performing above like that average view threshold, it's telling us that it's maximizing the amount of people you can reach for that one specific idea. And in this case, it's going to be your total addressable market. So what that actually looks like is like, say the total addressable market for XYZ niche is, you know, this many circles. The normal video for XYZ niche account is going to be like this many circles. So they're usually getting videos around, you know, this many views. But then what happens is they have this outlier video where they're reaching all these extra people. They're having way more views. And what that's telling us is that specific video worked way better than the other videos. And this isn't a fluke by the YouTube algorithm, because they've scientifically tested this. So we know that this means this video is just significantly better than all the other videos they post at this normal view count. Now, we can't always guarantee exactly why, but a big part of YouTube is going to be that overall packaging. So that thumbnail and the title. And that's when we could start to replicate this. What that allows us to do is kind of copy and paste the scenario, at least to the best that we can, in order to get similar results where we're producing our own outlier by using similar packaging to the video that outperformed their own channel's average video count. So I'm going to go through a live example, but it's pretty simple. We're going to find top performing creators in the business niche, and we're going to put a spin on it with our own content ideas. In this case, we're going to be using organic SEO as the example. So like the first one that comes top of mind is going to be someone like Iman Ghazi. I usually like to see something that's a little bit sooner. So like 4 months, like laziest way to make money online. So we could put something down right here. Laziest way to rank #1 on Google. I think that's actually a really good title. Another good one here is going to be Dan Martell. So I asked ChatGPT to make me money as fast as possible. I like that. 15 AI tools that will make you $1 million. How to make so much money it feels like cheating. I've actually been seeing that trend. Laziest way to make money with AI. Okay, that kind of like double confirms that first one. So I really like that. So how to make so much money it feels like cheating. That one I've seen. Okay, how to be so productive it feels illegal. Stuff like that feels illegal. I've been seeing that trend a little bit elsewhere. So I'm going to go with something like that, like how to rank on top of Google so fast it feels illegal. So we do something like that, but we're usually doing it on a daily basis to find as many outliers and confirmations that we can, essentially just to validate that it's actually a proven concept. And we actually got a great example there when we found that Iman Ghazi had the laziest money one. And then we had the Dan Martell also had like the laziest way to do XYZ. So we're going to actually run with that idea in this scenario. And then we're going to do something very similar for the thumbnail concept. So I'm going to go through some other creators, but now because it's organic SEO, it's going to be hard to get stuff from Iman Ghazi or Dan Martell just because they probably don't talk about SEO and the thumbnails are going to be completely different. So I'm going to actually look for niche specific outlier videos. In this case, it's going to be guys like Neil Patel. And I also can just go right to the Google search bar and type in organic SEO. Look for some of the best guys that I've maybe seen around. Nathan Gotch is a good one. So like these two, we have Nathan Gotch, which I want to see his outlier concepts. I don't usually look for too recent on stuff like this. I really like this one. I think it could be a little bit cleaner, but I know Neil Patel probably has some really solid ones. So we have 2x, 7.3x, 6x, 6x, 14x, 1.9 million views on something like this. So like I've actually seen this as well. So let me see how to rank #1 on Google. So I actually like this one because we're seeing this one from Brian Dean. It's a little bit long ago, so like 1 year. And Neil Patel actually has something super similar. And this is going to be like another rank #1. I think that our unique spin on it could just be to say something like this is lazy. Because our title is going to be like the laziest way to rank #1 on Google. And you could see that obviously that is them ranking #1 on Google. So I think it'd be a good, strong validation of that title and also spark a little bit of curiosity and stand out from what these guys are doing by just saying like, this is lazy. And just to recap, like that process is pretty much the same as the titles. It's going to be finding creators in a similar space, like ideally something that's more in your exact niche, because like I said, you're not going to be able to find as similar thumbnails when you're looking at guys like Dan Martell and Alex Hormozi for your specific niche. And you can just run through a checklist to make sure it like portrays the title properly. You can understand what the video is about without the title. That just means it's like actually a strong thumbnail. And then it's also like, will the viewer you want to target look at this and be interested in our example? Like if we were to put something like this with the word lazy on it, the people who want to rank #1 on Google are going to see that and they're going to just spark curiosity about like, why is it lazy? Now, if you don't want to spend hours every single week finding outlier titles and thumbnails, you can book a call using the first link in the description. We handle our clients' entire content strategy. We handle all the script writing, we handle all the editing, and we even design the thumbnails, so all they have to do is record. This way they can book calls from YouTube without putting too much time into the platform. So if that's something you're interested in, you could book a call using the first link below. But either way, having great packaging is just the beginning. Because even if someone's clicking on all of your videos, if they don't make it past the first 30 seconds, then they're never going to book a call with you. This is where I see a lot of business owners mess up because they try to reach as many people as possible and keep them watching as much as they can, but sometimes they actually forget to educate the viewers. So the question becomes, how can we reach as many people as we can while still educating them on the right topics? Here's how. So the way we look at scripts is essentially as its own funnel. So we look at it as a filter mechanism, and all that means is we want as many qualified people to make it to the bottom of this video. So you need to have the fine line between keeping things in depth but not disqualifying every single person who watches. And there's going to be a couple ways we do that. So with the intro is we would take something like the outlier video in the prior section and we're going to analyze why their intros work. So in this scenario, we're going to do the Iman Ghazi video video, and we're gonna do that Dan Martell video, and we're gonna see what their intros actually say, why it's enticing to their specific audience, and how we can replicate something similar. From there, we'd use our intro checklist to pretty much iterate that and improve upon it. So we're gonna make sure there's a bold hook, whether that's like a controversial or bold statement or a statistic, measurable result. Like a strong hook can be a lot of different things. We're gonna make sure we're actually confirming the click and the packaging. We're gonna make sure there's open loops and a roadmap. There's gonna be a value proposition and a logical flow. And the sentences are going to logically flow together. And then all we're going to do from there is pretty much revise it out loud until it's smooth and ready to go. What this is going to do is it's going to take those same concepts that the outlier videos use to go viral or perform well above their average view count, and we're going to be able to apply them to our specific video. Now from there, we're going to move into the actual body. And like I said, we treat the body as something that's going to just slowly filter out unqualified prospects, because here's the reality with B2B. Like when you go to B2C content, everything you want to do is keep as many people viewing as possible. But in B2B, we're not going to sacrifice education for retention. We want to give as much value away, knowing that every single person who's watching is a potential customer on the other side. And this is why you're not going to see B2B creators blow up on YouTube, but you are going to see them make a lot of money. So really, we're just nurturing the audience until they're ready to buy, and we're making it as easy as possible for them to digest and understand complex topics, so they think you are the go-to guy. You're posting information that they can actually understand, while somebody else is posting some complex stuff that it goes right over their head. They're going to go with you every single time. So essentially, our scripts look something like this. It depends on the actual script, but we'll script out the why/what transitions, essentially selling them on why this specific section is important. We go into the teach, we're going deep on value, but it's going to be stuff that's usually like over a screen share to make it as actionable and live as possible. And we split our sections according to the type of video. Like there might be 3 sections, there might be 6 sections, there might be 7 sections. It all depends on the video. We want to make sure they all flow from one to the next, making it almost logical for the viewer to continue to watch. But the thing is, you still want to capture those people at midway point, and that's why we use a mid-roll CTA. So what a mid-roll CTA is, it's basically telling them to book a call on the link below, or even using like a lead magnet about halfway or 30% through the video. Essentially, we do this because it's not too early that you turn people off and it's like too salesy, but it's not so late that you've pretty much lost everybody. And it's basically the best timing because it maximizes the number of people who actually see your offer, assuming your AVD is like, say, 3 to 4 minutes long. All you want to do is just make sure that it actually flows within the script and it's not something that's super abrupt or salesy. That actually brings us to the outro call to action, because we can't just throw one mid-roll in there and expect everything to be perfect. We still want to take all those guys who made it to the very end of the video and pitch them on another thing, whether that's driving traffic to another video or telling them to book a call on the first link below. Because we've already delivered all the promised value and these people watched the whole entire thing, so you bet that they actually enjoyed it. It's perfect for those people who need to see more proof, like a case study, before they're ready to take action, and it can pretty much just kick those people over the fence. Once again, the way to do this and like kind of make it flow is like kind of reference something that you didn't have the time to cover. You're going to position it as exclusive information that they can only get by taking the next step that you're going to pitch to them, and you're kind of making it feel like they're missing out on the final piece of the puzzle, and then giving them the solution, whether that's like another video or booking a call with you. But here's the thing, scripting gets people to the offer, but even with the best titles, the best thumbnails, and the best scripts, you'll still struggle to book calls if you're missing this next step, because most people are just blindly posting videos and hoping something sticks. But the best creators are doing everything strategically. So I'm going to cover how we actually think about content strategy, and it's super simple. So essentially, you have these top of funnel videos, you're going to have these middle of funnel videos, and you're going to have these bottom of funnel videos. So once again, we're thinking of this as a filtering mechanism. As many people as we can are going to come in through the top of funnel in an ideal world, and then slowly trickle down to middle funnel, bottom of funnel, and then essentially convert from there. And the way that this works is because the top of funnel speaks to that unaware and problem aware stage. So all that means is the prospect doesn't really know that they have a problem that they need to solve, or they feel a specific pain and they know like there is some kind of problem. They're just not like sure what the solution to it is yet. So all that means is that we're speaking to the widest audience. We're not really feeding into any problems. We're just educating them on a specific topic. And that's going to mean that it's the lowest friction point, because anybody can really watch it and get like value or a main takeaway from it. And some examples would be like, don't do XYZ and do this instead. Jordan Walsh is a good one over here. It's going to be like, don't start a personal brand, do this instead. And then he pitches his specific YouTube service. The number one XYZ no one talks about. So like the number one wealth killer no one talks about. Like people might not be known that the problem is there. So they might be sitting in this unaware state and you're pretty much just like stating it and showing them that it's there. Like I said, this gets people into the funnel and the ecosystem and starts to educate them on their problem they didn't even know they had. And it always has to be around your service still. Like you can't just go in and say like how I made $10,000 a month online if you're selling like organic SEO services, because that's just not going to relate at all. But that brings us to the middle funnel, which is going to be essentially the next stage, because we're speaking to people that are still problem aware, but a little bit more solution aware and product aware. And all that means is they know there are solutions to their problem, or they might even know that there is a specific product or service that they can use. So this is going to be essentially that mid-tier friction point, because these unaware people aren't going to really resonate with it that much. They're not going to really understand it, but these people will. And naturally, there's going to be less people who are solution aware than there is stuff that it's unaware. Some examples would be like copy this XYZ, it'll dream state. So copy this, email strategy, it'll blow up your business. The new way of making money on YouTube in 2025. So like these people just want to make money on YouTube in 2025. These people just want to blow up their business. It doesn't have to be around your specific thing, but because you're speaking to kind of like a more dream state, you could speak to an audience that's still like only problem aware. And essentially that optimizes more for the browse and demand generation. And all that means is it's going to be showing up on your For You page and still being able to get clicks. Whereas when we get to this bottom of funnel stuff, that stuff's going to be a little bit harder because you're speaking to an audience who's already thinking of buying and knowing that there are solutions out there. And it's going to be the highest friction point because you're going to do like case study breakdowns and masterclasses, which isn't going to necessarily resonate with everyone, but it can be really strong content because it serves as a social proof mechanism. You can have results-based titles that gets like fence sitters over the line. And then you peel back like all the sauce and they realize they pretty much like can't even implement it themselves. So you're giving as much value away that would pretty much like overwhelm those like unaware viewers and like those problem aware viewers, but it's speaking to these like product aware and most aware viewers and it's converting them over the line. And that's why we consider that bottom of funnel, because it's going to speak to the last stage. And like I said, there's going to be more people who fit into this unaware category than there's going to be people who fit into the most aware category. That's just how the world works. And the goal in an ideal world is to get them in from the top of funnel, slowly educate them and nurture them on the problem that they're having. And then as they eventually come to know that your product or service is out there, you're going to convert them by selling them on your specific service. As for the actual frequency of each of those videos, when it comes to top of funnel, middle funnel, and bottom funnel, it's going to heavily depend on the rest of the funnel. So like if we see someone with a newsletter who has like 1,000 subscribers, you might be able to just push out like middle funnel and bottom of funnel videos a lot more than if somebody who has like, only sending cold emails, or they just have like a small audience on like a platform like Twitter, because you're going to want to do more of like a half and half split where you actually need to start getting people and like building that compounding interest and getting some people into the top of funnel so you can actually speak to an audience. Whereas the people on the newsletters already have that audience and they're just looking to convert them. And look, implementing this entire system on your own, especially when you're running a business, can be overwhelming. And that's exactly why we handle everything for our clients, like the content strategy, the script writing, the editing, and even the thumbnail design. This way they can book calls from YouTube without having to do the heavy lifting themselves. Now, if that's something that interests you, you can book a call using the first link below. And if you want to see how we use this system to book a call with a 7-figure business with only 28 subscribers, watch this video right here and I'll see you over there.